grow since then? Has it?
Yeah, it continues to grow.
And school kids are playing now, like
there are high school teams now. There are high school teams now, and that's a whole league too. And there's this Pee Wee league up there with this total Israeli. He's like, there's nothing American about him at all. It's like totally dedicated to. There's still the same number of teams, but they're larger. The teams are larger, and the season starts in November and goes through the winter, and the Super Bowl is like the weekend before Passover.
It's a very interesting phenomenon on a sociological level, of course, because traditionally here in America, the American sports that attracted the Jews or the Jewish community was baseball and basketball and football, less so until recent times. Yet in Israel, this seems to have taken off. I know they have a baseball league there too, and obviously now all sports, but it really has taken off. Do you think it's something specific to Israeli society that allowed there to be a Jewish football, pretty much Jewish football league?
Yeah, there are a couple of things that probably were. One of the reasons that baseball and basketball have been popular with Jews here is because there are high school teams, even in like Jewish day schools and stuff, there are always basketball teams, and there are always baseball, there are baseball teams, and there are tennis and stuff, but because football is traditionally played on Saturday and Friday nights, there was this thing that, I mean, not everybody is Shomer Shabbat, but there was this thing that Jews didn't get involved in it, and there certainly weren't teams in schools. So that was one reason I think that a lot of Jews played. So a lot of these guys who were playing there had some, not all of them were religious growing up, but some of them were. The other thing is that it's not, this phenomenon is not unique to Israel. I mean, I didn't know this, but there is international tackle football all over Europe. There's Chinese tackle football, Indian tackle football, certainly in Western Europe there is. So what I found in just listening to the interviews with these guys is that the boys who grew up in Israel have been watching football their whole life on, cable television and in movies. And as soon as they had the opportunity to go out there and play football, they didn't care whether they could do it. They just wanted to do it.
Great. I would love to take a few questions from the audience. If you have any questions, comments, we'll have a microphone.
Is it possible to watch these games at all, like on the internet or?
The final game is broadcast. The Israel Bowl, kind of like the Super Bowl, is broadcast on Israeli television. And some of the semifinals are. So if you have access to Israeli television through the internet, you can. And the games are not very interesting. But if you want to watch them, I'm sure.
The scores are so ridiculously high. I mean, I was trying to figure out if that's because it's a small field or no defense.
Right, it's partly because it's a small field.
It's the same as arena football. The scores are higher for indoor arena football for the same reason.
Right.
So it's a lot harder to score when you have 100 yards versus 60.
Right, it's much smaller. So
Is Kraft planning on expanding the stadium? Are they planning on
Looks like we don't
playing in Teddy Stadium?
no, they're not going to play in Teddy Stadium. They're trying to build another stadium in Jerusalem that's a full-size stadium. They're trying. I mean, the Kraft hasn't promised anything yet, but the Israelis are certainly hoping for it. And they do have a national team for the first time, and in 2016 they're going to be playing in the International Tackle Football League. And Yona Mishan, who is the coach of the Lions, the team from Jerusalem, is the head coach of that team, and they're taking the best players from all the teams to play.
And they'll play like European teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question up here. We'll give you a mic.
I'm just curious, in the making of the film, I noticed that almost virtually all the conversation that was going on in the field was in English. There was almost, one of the few films about Israel that has almost no Hebrew in it. Were they communicating English for the benefit of the camera, or was the communication on the field in English?
On the field, because there are a lot of players now in Israel, they say that there's 70% of the players now are Israeli. Now, a lot of those Israelis are people who made Aliyah, who came from America, but because it's the common language, that's what they use on the field. But you'll hear Hebrew also. You'll definitely hear Hebrew on the field. But they're, though, more likely. Well, actually, we didn't follow. There are certain teams that are not. We don't focus on them in this game. Like that team from Haifa that comes in at the end, the black and yellow team. They pretty much between themselves are talking Hebrew on the field. But in the other teams that are more mixed, Hebrew and English, they'll tend to speak English because everybody understands.
And I guess the high school team's all in more Hebrew, obviously.
They're all in Hebrew.
That's what I was going to say.
They're all in Hebrew, yeah.
I have a question.
Hi, I just noticed in the film that there was only one city that had 2 football teams, Tel Aviv, the Yafa area. Is that the only like subway series you're ever going to see in Israel?
No, there are actually 3 teams in Jerusalem, but we just didn't focus on them. There are 2 teams in Tel Aviv, and the rest of the teams are spread out in Haifa, Beersheba, Ra'anana, someplace else.
Were you a football fan before you made this film?
I didn't even understand the game. Now you can ask me anything.
I think the language was interesting because
Into the microphone, so I to hear you.
all the foul language, we all understood.
Well,
All of the foul language
yes,
that was back and forth
right.
was understood by,
Oh, good.
by all the
Oh,
We don't get any of that on network football, you know, it's,
but then that's, I mean,
right, I'm sure they actually give fines or something like that. And we're gonna take one last question over here.
It's not a question, just a comment. 2 things. One, I thought the editing job was fantastic. Really put together the scenes of Israel. Made you want to go back again. But secondly, I don't think all the comments so far, the questions have been about football in Israel. I think the film really spoke to you about the people, the personalities, what came through. And I think this is the art of the film, is that you really got to see the characters involved, the strength of character that they had, the personality, the issues that surround their lives. I thought it was great.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's what we were, that is the strength of the film, and I'm glad you pointed that out.
I think this film really speaks very generally and actually has beyond, I mean, can obviously grab football fans. I think there's some great football in it, but beyond that also really does speak about broader elements of both Israeli society and in general, and I think has many educational values. So please tell your friends that it's screened tonight at 8 o'clock downtown at the Center for Jewish History, and on Thursday night at 7:30 at the Mid-Westchester JCC. So others will enjoy this film, which I think is a rare gem. Thank you so much for being with us. Next up in this room we have Kicking Out Shoshana at 6:30. Then on the roof we have just a couple of tickets left for Salah Shabati. Join us for that. Tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, many more films coming your way. Also check out our streaming site, israelfilmcenterstream.org, for more Israeli films. Thank you very much and have a good night.